In the heart of West Africa, a landlocked country stretches under the weight of centuries of struggle. Burkina Faso, once known as Upper Volta, has always lived under the shadow of resource wealth that seemed to belong to everyone but its people. For generations, the land has yielded gold shimmering, glittering veins running through the earth, drawing the eyes of empires, corporations, and opportunists from distant shores. And yet, for the people who toil in the dust, who breathe the poison of mercury, who watch their fields dry up, while strangers carry away the riches beneath their feet, gold has been less a blessing and more a curse. The story of Burkina Faso's gold is the story of exploitation. From the colonial French, who treated African soil as an open vault, to the international mining conglomerates that today tighten their grip on the nation's economy, gold has rarely translated into dignity, education, or justice for ordinary Burkina families. Children abandon school to pick through scraps in illegal mines. Villages are torn apart by violence between militias and foreign contractors guarding the treasure. And all the while, the wealth flows outward, to bank accounts in Paris, London, Tirana, anywhere but Ouagadougou. But amid this cycle of extraction and despair, a new idea has begun to take root, one that seems so shocking, so unlikely, that at first many laughed. The young captain who now leads the country, Ibrahim Traoré, has dared to imagine a future where mangoes, not gold, become the heartbeat of Burkina Faso's sovereignty. To outsiders, the very thought feels absurd. How can fruit perishable and soft replace a metal revered for millennia? How could mangoes compete with bullion stored in vaults or used to secure international loans? But Traoré understands something his critics do not. Gold has not brought his people freedom. If anything, it has chained them tighter to foreign powers who use debt, contracts, and violence to ensure control. Mangoes, on the other hand, wheat, golden in their own right and abundant in the fertile soils of the Sahel, are not extracted by foreign hands. They are cultivated by farmers, by families, by the same people who have been denied their rightful share of wealth for so long. Mango trees line the villages and towns of Burkina Faso. Their branches heavy with fruit each season, they are not just food, but memory, culture, and inheritance. For the farmer in Banfira who rises before dawn, carrying baskets of mangoes to the roadside to sell, this fruit is not a commodity in some distant stock exchange. It is the difference between sending a daughter to school or keeping her at home. It is medicine, trade, and survival. Traoré's plan is not merely about fruit. It is about dignity. By elevating mangoes, he is declaring that Burkina Faso will no longer measure itself by the yardstick of foreign wealth. Gold belongs to the vaults of others. Mangoes belong to the people. And in this declaration lies a profound act of defiance. To understand the gravity of this plan, one must see the faces of those who have suffered under the golden curse. Imagine Mariam, a widow whose husband was killed in a mine collapse near Kaya. The pit was illegal, dug by desperate men, without protection, without oversight, without hope. Her son, no older than 13, still carries scars from the toxic dust he inhaled. The village mourned, but compensation never came. The mining company denied responsibility. The government at the time turned away, and the world barely noticed. For Mariam, gold is not wealth. It is the soil that swallowed her husband. Now, imagine her life if the mango harvest, plentiful and steady, could be properly valued on global markets. If local processing plants turned fruit into dried snacks, juices, jams, and exports, creating jobs for youth who might otherwise be drawn to militias or mining camps, if trade networks across Africa, strengthened by new regional alliances, made the Burkina mango as prized in Accra or Lagos as it is in Paris, then Mariam's. The son might breathe cleaner air, might learn in school instead of risking his life in the dark. That is the vision Traoré dares to speak into existence. Of course, there is resistance. Gold, after all, is power. And those who control it do not relinquish it willingly. International creditors scoff at the idea that a nation can stand on fruit rather than minerals. Diplomats warn of instability. Investors quietly threaten withdrawal. and the whispers of sabotage drift through corridors of power. To challenge the gold economy is to challenge a system built on centuries of exploitation, where Africa's natural riches flow outward, while its people are told to wait for development that never arrives. But Burkina Faso has reached a breaking point. Surrounded by insurgency, weakened by years of external interference, scarred by poverty, the nation faces a stark choice: remain trapped in the old order, or carve a new path, however unconventional. Mangoes are more than fruit. They are a symbol of that path. The story of Traore's vision is also the story of memory. In villages across Burkina Faso, elders remember the time before the mines. They remember when the land provided sustenance, when trade was local, when families relied on the rhythm of planting and harvest, not the whims of foreign corporations. They tell stories under the baobab tree, reminding the young that dignity does not come from gold dust on your hands, but from food on your table and freedom in your decisions. In their wisdom, Traore finds validation. He is not merely innovating. He is restoring, and yet the path ahead is treacherous. Gold is seductive. Because it is instant, liquid easily exchanged for weapons, loans, and influence. Mangoes require patience or chards, take years to bear full fruit. Supply chains demand infrastructure, markets require trust and stability. For every villager who dreams of a mango-powered future, there is a skeptic who fears the world will laugh, or worse, punish them for daring to dream differently. But history reminds us that dignity often begins in laughter. When enslaved Africans in America sang spirituals in the fields, their oppressors laughed, not realizing those songs carried codes of escape and survival. When Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and other African leaders spoke of true independence, they were mocked, sabotaged, even killed, yet their words continued to ignite fires decades later. To laugh at mangoes today may be to underestimate the courage of a people determined to define wealth on their own terms. In Ouagadougou, a young woman named Owa tends her father's orchard. She speaks of the mango trees the way others speak of heritage. "They are our gold," she says softly, running her hand over the rough bark. "Each fruit that falls is not just sustenance, but a promise that the land, though exploited, still gives." She dreams of studying agronomy, of designing new ways to store, ship, and sell mangoes so that her village will no longer beg for crumbs from mining companies. Her dream is Burkina Faso's dream, fragile yet powerful. For now, the world watches with skepticism. But for the people of Burkina Faso, the plan represents more than economics. It represents the audacity to believe that dignity can grow from soil, not mines. It is a call to the world: do not measure us by what you take from beneath our feet, but by what we cultivate with our hands. The story is only beginning, and its ending is uncertain. But in the orchards of Burkina Faso, as the sun sets over fields where children chase each other among the trees, the air is heavy with the scent of ripening fruit. And in that scent lingers a question: can mangoes replace gold? Or, more profoundly, can dignity replace exploitation? Is the idea that mangoes could one day stand where gold once stood is not merely a shift in economic strategy? It is a radical reimagining of what sovereignty means for a nation long denied its right to define wealth. On its own terms, to understand why Traore's vision carries such weight, one must trace the shadows of history that stretch across Burkina Faso and much of Africa. Colonialism did not just steal resources, it taught generations of Africans to doubt the value of their own. The French, like other colonial powers, enforced systems where African soil yielded cotton, cocoa, coffee, and yes, gold, all for export, never for empowerment. Local crops, local trade, local sustenance were devalued in favor of commodities that fed Europe's hunger. This mindset, reinforced for decades, made many believe that dignity must be imported, that progress could only come from pleasing external markets. But in the mango orchards of Burkina Faso, that colonial lie is being challenged each season. When the rains soften the earth and the mangoes ripen, entire communities gather to harvest. Children with sticky fingers laugh in the shade, Mothers sort baskets, fathers negotiate sales at roadside stalls. It is a ritual as old as memory. Yet until recently, much of this bounty rotted before reaching wider markets, lost to poor infrastructure and neglect. For years, government after government ignored the mango harvest, chasing mining deals instead, as if fruit could not build a nation. But what Trory sees is different. He sees the resilience of a people, the consistency of a crop, and the untapped wealth in what others dismissed as ordinary, to those who understand the global hunger for organic fruit. Dried snacks and fair trade products, the potential is clear. A well-organized mango industry could rival exports of cashews from Ivory Coast or coffee from Ethiopia. Burkina Faso's mangoes are already considered some of the sweetest in the world. With investment in processing plants, cold storage, and regional trade routes, they could become a brand, a source of pride, a flag on the international market. Such a vision, the fruit that once rotted in the dust, could finance schools, hospitals, and new industries. But the plan is about more than economics. It is about justice. For too long, Burkinab lives have been cheapened in the pursuit of gold. Young boys suffocate in illegal pits. Entire villages are terrorized by armed groups seeking control of mining zones. The nation's sovereignty has been hollowed out by contracts written in foreign boardrooms, agreements signed under duress, and debts designed to keep the country on its knees. Mangoes, by contrast, are not guarded by foreign soldiers. They are not traded in shadowy contracts. They are harvested by local hands, sold in local markets, and eaten at local tables. They are a wealth that cannot be stripped away without stripping away the very trees that feed families. In this sense, mangoes are not just an economic resource. They are a declaration of independence. Of course, no declaration comes without risk. Powerful interests will not watch idly as Burkina Faso shifts from dependence on gold. Already, critics accuse Trory of naivety, of romanticizing agriculture, of gambling with the future. Some whisper of sanctions, of withheld aid, of pressure, campaigns designed to bring the country back in line. Others fan fears within, warning farmers that the global market is too ruthless, that mangoes cannot shield them from poverty. But these warnings are not new. They're the same warnings once given to every African leader who dared to dream beyond dependency. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader in the 1980s, once declared, "We must produce what we consume." He wore cotton grown and woven in Burkina Faso, urged farmers to plant food instead of cash crops, and reminded his people that true freedom comes not from foreign loans, but from self-reliance. Was silenced before his dream could fully bloom. Yet his words linger like seeds in the soil. Trory's mango plan is, in many ways, the continuation of that unfinished dream. It is Sankara's spirit whispering through orchards, reminding a new generation that sovereignty is not gifted, it is cultivated. For the people, the choice is not abstract. It is about survival. Take Issa, a young man from a village near Bobo Dioulasso. He once dreamed of migrating to Europe, crossing deserts and seas for a chance at work. But when his village cooperative received support to build a small mango drying facility, Issa stayed. Today, he helps package dried mango slices for export. 2 neighboring countries, earns a steady income, enough to care for his siblings and even save a little. When asked if he regrets staying, Issa smiles. Gold destroys villages, he says, but mangoes feed them. His words capture the essence of the new vision, to stay rooted, to grow where one is planted, to turn sweetness into survival. Yet, for every Issa who finds hope in mangoes, there are countless others still trapped in the brutal economy of gold. In the north, militias battle for control of mines. In the east, rivers run black with chemicals used to extract ore. The people caught in between wonder if mangoes can really reach them, if this dream will ever touch their lives. Trory knows this, and he does not claim the journey will be easy. But he believes that by shifting national focus, by investing in agriculture, Burkina Faso can slowly loosen the chains of dependence and build a future that is not dictated by outsiders. In international halls of power, the idea is debated with condescension. Analysts describe mangoes as too perishable, too niche, too small scale. They ignore the deeper truth, that what matters is not the fruit itself, but the decision to value what grows naturally, abundantly, and sustainably. The laughter of analysts mirrors the laughter once directed at Sankara, at Nkrumah, at Lumumba, leaders who dared to imagine Africa not as a quarry for the world, but as a garden for its own people. Burkina Faso's mango plan may fail. It may be sabotaged, undermined, or crushed under the weight of global politics. But even in failure, it represents something powerful. The refusal to accept that exploitation is destiny. It is the insistence that black lives, black labor, and subsistence in black soil are worth more than what foreign contracts dictate. It is the courage to define wealth not in ounces of gold, but in the laughter of children who no longer have to risk their lives in mines. As dusk falls over Ouagadougou, the air thick with dust and heat, one can imagine Traoré standing beneath a mango tree. He is young, fiery, controversial, but his resolve carries echoes of those who came before him. The mango tree above him is heavy with fruit, its roots deep, its branches wide. It is not gold, it will never glitter in a vault, but it feeds, it sustains, it belongs. And perhaps, in that simple truth, lies the foundation of a new kind of freedom. For the people of Burkina Faso, the mango is no longer just a fruit. It is a symbol of resistance, a taste of dignity, a vision of justice, whether the world accepts. This or not, the people have begun to see themselves differently. And once the people see themselves as worthy, as capable, as sovereign, no amount of laughter, sanctions, or sabotage can fully turn them back. The world has always underestimated Africa. Perhaps it will underestimate mangoes too. But in the orchards of Burkina Faso, as farmers prepare for the next harvest, there is a quiet determination. They know their gold has betrayed them. They believe their mangoes will not, and so the story continues. The story of a nation daring to replace exploitation with cultivation, dependence with dignity, despair with sweetness. A story that says, to the world, our wealth is not buried beneath your boots. It grows in our soil, in our orchards, in our hands. It grows golden, but not as a metal, it grows as a mango, ripe with the promise of justice.